Today's news of Taiwan broadcast, August 4th, 2026.
This is The Brief on today's top global and Taiwanese news. From geopolitical shifts calming global markets to local financial scams and approaching storms, today's news is all about navigating different kinds of turbulence. First, the U.S. and Iran are actually making significant progress in negotiations for safe ship passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Think of the strait as a global economic windpipe, When it breathes easier, the whole market just relaxes. We're seeing oil prices drop, and the Dow absolutely soared over 900 points to hit a record high. So could this diplomatic progress finally be the key to stabilizing our highly volatile global supply chains? Second, while international waters are calming down, local financial waters here in Taiwan are dealing with a severe artificial storm. Authorities just dismantled the massive foreign exchange Ponzi scheme where a couple swindled victims out of more than 30 million NTD. They lured people in with a supposed automated trading program promising guaranteed risk-free returns. But hey, think about financial gravity. What goes up must come down, and nothing is truly risk-free. Why do sophisticated-sounding tech buzzwords still successfully blind investors to classic Ponzi red flags? Finally, we've got a meteorological domino effect brewing. Typhoon Dolphin is rapidly advancing toward Okinawa, and a sea warning for northern Taiwan could be issued by Friday. If you're heading to Japan, brace for severe flight disruptions for sure. Are travelers relying way too heavily on last-minute insurance policies that instantly become void the second a sea warning is issued? Whether you're tracking global peace talks, dodging local investment traps, or packing for a weekend trip, staying ahead of the turbulence is always your best defense.
1. Major criminal and social cases. Foreign exchange investment Ponzi scheme. A man surnamed Liu and his ex-wife surnamed Zhang are suspected of introducing a Malaysian foreign exchange investment scheme in 2023, enticing investors with promises of automated program trading, guaranteed profits, and a one-year payback period, swindling them out of more than 30 million new Taiwan dollars. The scheme was exposed last August when they were unable to pay dividends. 9 people were questioned by prosecutors. Liu and Zhang were initially released on bail of 1 million new Taiwan dollars, but this was later reduced to 400,000 new Taiwan dollars due to their inability to raise the funds. One of the executives, surnamed Cheng, lost control upon leaving, throwing a large bag and an eco-friendly cup at reporters. Pingtung chairman's mummy murder case solved. The chairman of a property technology company in Pingtung was murdered by a former employee, a 30-something ironworker. The suspect, owing the company tens of thousands of dollars, stole from the chairman while he was away, and when caught, bound the chairman in a mummy-like manner with tape and beat him to death with a stick. The suspect, assisted by his wife, fled to Taichung. Police reviewed thousands of surveillance cameras and arrested the couple. Official Boulevard switches to churches. A 46-year-old man surnamed Zhang attempted to break into the St. Mark's College Seminary in Hualien, but was discovered by migrant workers who called the police. Investigation revealed that the suspect was a repeat offender on Official Boulevard, a notorious street known for its thievery. One in 6 county and city governments across Taiwan 16 years ago, and had previously targeted over 20 university campuses nationwide. Recently, he had shifted his crimes to churches. Wang Zhongyi's parents' murder case settlement. 11 years ago, Wang Zhongyi was suspected of murdering his parents in Nantou to collect insurance money. After years of trial, he was acquitted of the father's murder charge and sentenced to manslaughter, 1 year and 2 months, in the mother's murder charge. Because Wang had been detained for 739 days, he applied for criminal compensation. The court ultimately ruled that compensation would be calculated at 4,000 new Taiwan dollars per day, totaling 2,956,000 new Taiwan dollars. The trial of the tragic death of a passenger abandoned on Provincial Highway 64. A driver surnamed Lin abandoned his intoxicated passenger, Mr. Wen, on Provincial Highway 64, resulting in Mr. Wen being run over and killed by a following vehicle. During the court hearing, the family rejected restorative justice and requested mediation. The lawyer argued that the deceased walked into the lane on his own, had no direct relationship with the driver, and only constituted negligent homicide, and further requested that the driver's underage daughter be summoned to court to seek a reduced sentence. 2. Political, policy, and food safety focus. 2027 budget reaches record high. Premier Cho Young-tai reported to President Lai Ching-te that next year's total budget expenditure will increase to over 3.6 trillion new Taiwan dollars, setting a new record. Key areas include 10 new AI-related projects, strengthening national defense, and promoting wage increases and tax cuts. However, this year's budget has not yet been reviewed, sparking criticism from the Legislative Yuan that it may involve a 2-year review at once. Controversy over carcinogenic oils from Chunglian Oils. Taiwan Sugar Corporation was exposed for knowing in May that Chunglian crude oil contained excessive levels of benzopyrene but failed to report it, sparking outrage from Taichung Mayor Liu Xiaoyan, who criticized central government officials as disgusting and guilty of covering up the case. The presidential office countered that this was a political maneuver. Prosecutor Chen Hongda pointed out that reporting is a legally mandated obligation, not a favor granted by the administrative agency. U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. House Foreign Affairs Committee Honorary Chairman McCall stated that U.S. arms sales to Taiwan are unaffected by U.S.-China relations and expects Trump to propose another $14 billion arms sale to Congress. Leasing and management financial crisis. The leading domestic leasing and management company, Caoxing Group, is experiencing a financial crisis, making it unable to pay bond principal and interest. The National Housing and Urban Development Center stated it will monitor the situation and assist in establishing a transformation mechanism to maintain landlords and the public's confidence in the system. 3. Weather and environmental information. Typhoon Dolphin update. Dolphin continues to move towards the Ryukyu Islands, with its northward turn angle slightly shifting southward. The Central Weather Bureau does not rule out issuing a maritime typhoon warning on Friday afternoon, primarily affecting the northern and northeastern sea areas. Experts remind those traveling to Okinawa this weekend to be aware of flight disruptions. Extreme heat and ultraviolet radiation. Taiwan is experiencing scorching heat, with Hsinchu County recording a high of 38 degrees Celsius. Today's UV index is exceptionally high. The Ilan, Hualien, and Taitung areas may reach the purple danger level, meaning sunburn can occur after just 15 minutes of outdoor exposure. 4. Transportation, livelihood, and international briefs. Taoyuan Airport issues. Drone interference. Taoyuan Airport suspended takeoffs and landings on both runways for 10 minutes due to the detection of abnormal drone signals, affecting 9 flights. Terminal 1 reconstruction. Terminal 1, in use for 47 years, is nearing the end of its building's service life. The Ministry of Transportation plans to decide on renovation or reconstruction next year. International finance and situation. U.S. stocks performed strongly, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average rising 907 points to a record high. Significant progress has been made in U.S.-Iran negotiations, with an agreement potentially being reached soon to restore passage through the Strait of Hormuz, leading to a drop in international oil prices. Sports and entertainment. Chen Yangqi retires. 43-year-old Unillions veteran Chen Yangqi announced his retirement after 16 years in professional baseball at the end of this season. He thanked his family at a press conference and choked up at one point. Spider-Man box office success. The latest film, Spider-Man, The Day After Tomorrow, grossed $927 million, approximately 30 billion new Taiwan dollars, worldwide in its opening weekend, surpassing the record set by Avengers: Endgame. Bizarre complaint. An ENT clinic in Kaohsiung received an unwarranted 1-star review because a patient, dissatisfied with a nurse at a clinic across the street hanging up on him, came to this unrelated clinic to leave a negative review.
Today we are looking at a comprehensive script for a morning news broadcast covering everything from a massive $30 million 4X Ponzi scheme to a meat cleaver attack in Luzhou.
And the overarching structure of a news broadcast really dictates how well the audience absorbs that information.
Right, and the specific weakness in the current material is a severe case of emotional and topical whiplash.
Yeah, it's really intense.
Because as a listener, you are pulled from a highly technical financial crime involving those two suspects, Liu and Xing.
Straight into a public health crisis.
Exactly, the one involving adulterated camellia oil. And then you are shoved into U.S. arms sales to Taiwan before finally just landing on a localized story about a restaurant owner with a weapon.
It is just a lot to take in all at once. Think about what happens to the listener's brain when an anchor reads that sequence at 7 in the morning.
Right, they are just pouring their coffee.
Yeah, they are barely awake, trying to absorb the day's events, and the script is forcing them to completely dump their working memory and reset their context every, 45 seconds.
It's exhausting.
It really is. When you jump from complex finance to public health to geopolitics to local crime without any thematic bridge, cognitive load spikes to unsustainable levels, and the listener simply stops retaining the information.
I mean, it is the editorial equivalent of a chaotic buffet.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like the writer is haphazardly piling heavy, slow-roasted meats and sugary, delicate desserts onto the exact same plate.
And the resulting mess just ruins the flavor profile of both.
Exactly. So the suggestion here is to abandon the randomized checklist approach and logically group the individual stories into distinct narrative blocks based on thematic resonance. We need to create specific courses for the listener to digest.
Let's build a concrete example of what that looks like on the page, just to make it actionable.
Okay, yeah.
We can create a systemic accountability block. The writer should take the Thai sugar oil contamination controversy.
Oh, and they should definitely hold on to that fantastic, biting journalistic detail about the FDA's missing director.
Yes, absolutely. You take the FDA's missing director and the absent deputy minister at that crucial food safety meeting, and you place that institutional failure right next to the Forex Ponzi scheme.
Right, you put them side by side.
Exactly. Then, you use a direct anchor transition to move straight into the report on the DPP elder, Wu Naijin.
Oh, highlighting the absurdity of him allegedly owing 1.7 billion TWD to Thai sugar while being spotted riding in luxury cars to the gym.
Yeah, I mean, by doing that, the writer is no longer just reading 3 disconnected overnight events.
They're physically weaving a larger unspoken narrative.
Right, a narrative about institutional oversight, financial integrity, and the people who exploit systemic loopholes. You are actively training the listener's ear to hear the connective tissue between a fraudulent investment algorithm and a politician avoiding a massive debt.
Which completely elevates the entire authority of the broadcast, because the why behind the news becomes the focal point.
But, I mean, is there a risk that focusing on this kind of dense, thematic blocking might inadvertently slow down the pacing too much?
How do you mean?
Well, if the listener's brain stays in the heavy realm of accountability and governance for a solid 10 or 12 minutes, we are demanding a lot of sustained focus.
We are, yeah, but we respect the audience enough to ask for that focus. Once that specific thematic course is finished, the writer can drop in a clear, deliberate audio cue.
Like a strong transitional sentence.
Exactly. To signal a shift to the next block, whether that is international affairs or local crime. But pacing isn't just about how fast we read the news. It's about how much weight we give it.
Right.
Elevating stories with profound human consequences over minor localized incidents will significantly amplify the emotional resonance and gravitas of the broadcast.
We definitely need to look closely at how this script assigns editorial weight. Because right now, we are seeing a complete flattening of the emotional landscape.
It's totally flattened.
A major weakness in the current pacing is that the material allocates identical emotional energy and airtime to deeply tragic, complex human stories as it does to lighthearted or minor inconveniences.
The contrast on the page is honestly just jarring.
It really is.
The script spends time detailing the tragic case on Expressway 64, where a taxi driver abandoned a drunk passenger on an active roadway, leading directly to the passenger's fatal collision.
Which is incredibly heavy.
Right. And a few pages later, it covers the story of Wang Zhengyi, a man who endured a wrongful 739-day detention for the alleged murder of his parents, only to finally be cleared and offered compensation.
Two massive, life-altering stories.
Yes.
Yet between these profound life-and-death legal battles, the script dedicates almost the exact same breadth and word count to a misdirected one-star review of an ENT clinic in Kaohsiung.
And that drone delaying flights at Taiwan airport for a mere 10 minutes.
It's wild.
When a writer treats a man losing 2 years of his life to a wrongful conviction and a petty Google review with the same editorial reverence, they inadvertently devalue the human tragedy.
Totally.
It sends a subconscious signal to the listener that nothing on this broadcast truly matters because everything is treated as equally pressing. I mean, if everything is breaking news, nothing is. So the suggestion for improvement is to ruthlessly edit down the minor incidents to create breathing room, dedicating that newly freed airtime to unpacking the ethical, legal, and emotional complexities of the high-stakes stories.
Give us a concrete example of how to execute that.
Well, if the author takes a red pen to that tall yuan drone delay story and cuts it down to a 10-second mention, they suddenly have a minute or two of pure airtime harvested.
Right.
Let's look at the Expressway 64 tragedy. Rather than just reporting the basic facts of the fatal collision, use that newly freed time to dive into the upcoming August 28th mediation.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. The script briefly mentions the driver brought hand-copied scriptures to court.
Yes.
That is a stunning, cinematic detail that is currently just buried. Giving that detail an extra 30 seconds of focus allows the audience to become the jury.
Exactly.
Like, what do those hand-copied scriptures represent? Is it genuine, overwhelming remorse? Is it a calculated performance for the judge? Is it just sheer desperation?
Unpacking that detail alongside the forensic focus on the victim's toxology report builds intense narrative tension.
Wait, let me push back on that for a second, though.
Okay.
If we strip out all the minor, lighter stories, like the Kaohsiung clinic review or the drone delay, and fill that space exclusively with deep dives into fatal collisions and wrongful imprisonments, aren't we just going to completely exhaust the listener?
That's a fair point.
A 30-minute morning broadcast of pure, uninterrupted systemic tragedy sounds like a great way to make someone turn off their radio.
Yeah, that is a very real danger if we just eliminate the light stories entirely. Building on your point, what if we looked at it from the perspective of using those minor incidents purposefully as strategic emotional relief?
Oh, I like that. So we don't delete the ENT clinic story, we deploy it tactically.
Exactly. We use it as a release valve. After the writer takes the listener through the emotionally taxing narrative of Wang Zhongyi's 739 days in a cell for a crime he didn't commit, the listener's emotional capacity is completely tapped out.
They need a psychological reset.
Right. So the suggestion is to condense that Kaohsiung clinic review into a brief 15-second palate cleanser and drop it right at the moment of highest emotional fatigue.
Perhaps right before the weather report.
Yes. It becomes functional rather than just filler. The broadcast uses the light story to purposely reset the listener's baseline, preparing them for the next phase of the show, rather than letting a silly review compete for top billing with a wrongful death.
It is an economy of attention. We have a limited amount of listener focus to spend over these 30 minutes, and we have to spend it where the return on investment is highest.
Definitely.
And speaking of maximizing that return, I noticed a pattern in how the script handles the local crime and infrastructure segments.
Which is?
The writer includes a ton of vivid, localized detail, but these events are presented as entirely self-contained bubbles.
Reframing isolated local incidents as reflections of larger systemic shifts will provide the audience with a much more insightful and thought-provoking listening experience.
Because currently the broadcast presents significant events as vacuum-sealed facts.
Right. It completely fails to explore the underlying causes or the broader implications for Taiwanese society. It is treating the symptoms on the surface without ever discussing the underlying disease.
For instance, the script details the horrific murder of a Pingtung property manager by a former employee over a debt.
Yeah, that was grim.
And then later on, it covers the structural aging of Taiwan Airport Terminal 1, noting it is approaching its 50-year lifespan, specifically 47 years, and may need a total rebuild.
And the weakness here is that these are delivered as standalone data points.
Exactly. The listener is told that a murder happened, and they are told an airport is old, but they are never told why they should care beyond the immediate shock value.
So the suggestion to strengthen the material is to identify specific anchor details within the script and use them to build a bridge between local micro events and macroeconomic macro trends.
We need to directly answer the so what for the listener.
Let's examine the Pingtung murder. The script notes that the former employee killed the manager over a debt of just over 100,000 TWD.
That detail, the specific, relatively low amount of money that triggered lethal desperation, is our anchor.
Right. What are the potential limitations of leaving this as a purely isolated local crime?
If a person is driven to commit murder over a debt of $100,000, could the narrative also support a broader exploration about the state of financial safety nets?
You don't have to editorialize heavily or turn the morning news into an opinion piece, but you can explicitly contextualize it.
Yeah, just give it some framing.
The writer can place that specific local tragedy in conversation with current working-class economic pressures. It transforms a senseless act of violence into a stark indicator of societal strain.
And a perfect, concrete example of how to execute the structural bridge is sitting right there in the script with the Taiwan airport story.
The Taiwan airport segment is a massive missed opportunity as currently written. Don't just state that Terminal 1 is nearing its 50-year lifespan and move on to the next headline.
You have to link it.
Link it directly to the broadcast's later segment regarding the executive branch's record-high 3.6 trillion TWD central government budget.
Because the script already outlines the president's 10 major priorities for this massive national budget.
Right. So the concrete action for the writer is to actively question the relationship between the two. Imagine the anchor reading this.
Okay.
They don't just stop at Terminal 1 might need a rebuild. They pause, shift their tone, and say, and with Terminal 1 facing a critical need for reconstruction after 47 years, will critical infrastructure renewal actually be a primary beneficiary of the new 3.6 trillion TWD expanded budget?
I love that. Connecting a 47-year-old ceiling to a $3.6 trillion budget solves a massive visualization problem.
Because the human brain cannot actually picture $1 trillion.
Exactly. It is an abstract concept that just sounds like static to a listener making their morning commute, but everyone knows what an aging, leaky airport terminal looks and feels like.
By fusing the micro and the macro, you make the abstract national budget tangible to the person waiting for their flight.
And you make the physical airport ceiling relevant to national economic policy.
Yes. By doing that, the writer is physically forcing the listener to carry the image of the old terminal into the next segment about government spending.
It really transforms the role of the news anchor from a mere reader of overnight events into a synthesizer of reality.
That's a great way to put it.
When an editor connects these dots, the listener walks away feeling smarter, more informed, and better equipped to understand the mechanics of the world around them, rather than just feeling like they've been battered by a randomized list of bad things that happened yesterday.
So to recap, this critique focused on maximizing the impact of the broadcast by addressing structure, focus, and originality.
Let's run through the main takeaways.
First, the writer needs to reorganize the script into cohesive thematic blocks, like systemic accountability, to prevent topical whiplash and build a logical narrative journey.
Second, reallocate airtime to prioritize profound human impact stories. Harvest those seconds from minor viral incidents and use that time to unpack the cinematic and ethical complexities of stories like the Expressway 64 tragedy.
Right. Use those lighter stories only as strategic emotional release valves.
Exactly.
And finally, explicitly connect local news items to macro trends. Use specific anchor details, like linking a crumbling airport terminal to the abstract 3.6 trillion TWD national budget, so the audience understands the broader implications of isolated events.
By implementing these actionable suggestions, the material will really evolve from a simple reading of facts into a deeply engaging, resonant narrative.
Please revise the script with these overarching concepts in mind and submit it back again for further feedback.